I'm Ann Tucker. Thanks for joining me. I posted this first video a couple days ago. I've been receiving a series of messages, and I am a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm, and some of the messages I've been receiving lately are intended to help us, to give us some guidance about what we can do to be prepared for some of the things that are coming in the second half of this year. And the important thing, like I mentioned in the first video, when I first got these messages, I was really uncertain about what to do with them. I wasn't sure how to share them, because it's super important not to spread fear during this time. And there are some hard things coming, so it's hard to talk about those things in a way that isn't creating fear. But I think the most important thing to take from these messages is they're not saying to be afraid, and there's also every possibility that these things are not going to happen. That the angel said in our last message, they were very clear that the thing that creates a lot of the stuff that's happening is the emotions on the planet. That it isn't something that, and emotions are very changeable, right? It's something that there's energies that are here, and then what we do with the energies is sort of up to the emotions that are on the planet at the time. So these are possibilities. These are things that can occur, and the reason that they're giving us these messages is not to be alarming at all. It's to help us, to give us some ideas of, okay, here's some things you can do. Either way, they're good ideas, some things you could do that in the event that there is, some difficult things that happen, that you'll be prepared. So the idea here, as I mentioned in the last video, is just to be a good Boy Scout or Girl Scout and to be prepared. And they're going to give us some guidance about the kinds of ways to be prepared that might be really helpful. So please take it in that spirit. And I want to tell you, and I mentioned in the last video, my process, how I receive these messages, is by going up and connecting with the angelic realm. I go into a meditative state, and then I raise myself up as high as I can go, and anybody can do this, and I do recommend it as a meditative practice, to try to move, you just even visually or physically feel yourself moving upwards, trying to go higher and higher. And I do that, and I go up until I connect, and then I start to receive the messages. So anyways, I hope these are helpful to you, and I will go ahead and read this message to you. Okay, so they're saying, in the first message I talked about, like I said, that you can go back and listen to the first video, and I will post a link to that down below, so you can find that if you haven't seen the first video yet. There will be deflation first. It will be significant. It will inflict damage because those who cannot pay default. There will be trauma and stress. This period will last many months. You can unfold the events in your mind. It will be one on top of another that leads to upending the system that exists. So the big thing they said in the last one was that the banks are going to be closed for some period of time, and that creates a period of deflation where we can't get access to money. And they also said that there would be no liquidity, that because of this freeze, people wouldn't be able to move money, which creates a situation where there's no money's changing hands. So we end up with deflation. So despite the fact that they're printing crazy amounts of money right now, this is a potential way that deflation could occur, is that they close the banks and freeze everything. And that is what's being talked about here. So, and deflation is when the value of your currency actually goes up, or your money can buy more. That's what deflation is. You can bet that none will resume old activities after this. It will be vastly different. You can have confidence in your ability to rise again. Don't worry. It will bring new opportunities within the chaos, new chances for your might to let. You will see it can have multiple impacts. The deflation begins with truck drivers forsaking their routes, not driving goods to their destinations. So that begins the process of hyperinflation of goods. So there's a second thing happening here. And there's a bunch of reasons why truck drivers might not be driving, but they don't get into that here. So what happens basically is they're saying that because of the fact that there's no deliveries happening, that we can't get access, even though the value of currency is going up because it's not liquid. So if you were trying to buy a big purchase, right? You can't move your money around. At the same time, they're saying that since there's no deliveries happening, just basic stuff that you need, the sort of day-to-day things like your shampoo or fresh vegetables, things like that might be in high demand, that those you might not be able to get access to during this period. So those things could become more expensive. Even though the value of your currency goes up, so does the cost of consumer goods. There will not be enough money to pay for what you want. It will be as if things become more expensive. Things are scarce. Things must be bartered or traded to get your needs met. It can be positive. You will be happy to have such deep resources because you will offer to trade for what you have. It can be a good thing. Commerce continues in this way. So it is a hyperinflation of goods and a simultaneous deflation. So one of the big things they're suggesting that we do here is just to be prepared for in the event that this happens. And this doesn't mean to go out and just buy a bunch of stuff, because they're also telling you to hold on to your cash, right? Don't spend a lot of extra money right now. But they are suggesting that in the event that this happens, you might want to have, like, are there things that you really love to have that make you more comfortable? Your favorite lip balm, right? Your favorite type of oatmeal, whatever it is, like buy an extra box or buy an extra backup, right? Have a couple months supply of the things that you love that make you feel comfortable, the things that make your daily life easy. And these are sort of the consumer type goods, things that typically you would use up and run out of. And like I said, it's not a huge backstock. We're talking about a couple of months, I think 2 to 4 months, right? And they don't give a specific time because they say timing is really difficult. But I really want to encourage you to not get into the state of mind that it's like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to get this in the future. That's not the case. We're talking about a temporary period where things are scarce. And so it would be to your benefit to just think about, like, what is it that would make you feel relaxed and comfortable, and to maybe buy an extra one of those and have that around. And be careful with investment. Don't invest, not more. So whatever in terms of don't put more money in. Be reserved. Don't spend much. You can have what you have, but you can keep cash. You can keep cash on hand because it's going to get very expensive. So what they're suggesting, and they mentioned this in the video number 1, is that if you have a safe place where you can keep like if you have a safe in your house or something like that, a safe place where you can put some money to have on hand in the event that the banks do close, so that you do have money to be able to just kind of buy your groceries, that kind of a thing. And they're saying be careful with investment. So they are suggesting do not invest in stocks right now. It will develop into a crisis after the first. So after, they said there will be stages, yes, to develop. There will first happen an overage of expectation where people buy up all the markets and it subsides, it falls. It will become devastating for many because all is lost. So those that are really, really heavily in the stock market could be hurt by this. And that's what they're saying there. And that's why they're suggesting try to invest very, very conservatively. And, if you're going to do stocks, do something that's really highly rated, very conservative stocks or other instruments, or, cash, money markets, those types of things. That develops into a situation where all capital is sanctioned, where you can't get access. So that's the part I was talking about, potentially them shutting down where you can't get into the bank, that kind of stuff. Then you must reveal the location of your cash stores, unveil that all is not lost. So that just means for yourself, and that you realize that you're going to be just fine because you've got some money set aside and it's not a time to panic. You can have access to the money you have in the bank later. It will be there. Recover it later. So it's not something to worry about. They said previously that the banks will keep your money safe, that it will be there for you later. So this is really just about getting through a period where, like, we've been in a quarantine right now. Let's think of this as a money quarantine. You just need to get through this period as comfortably as possible. Be not overly hasty, because then another thing happens. There will be chaos because others perpetrate travesty. It becomes unseemly, a disaster for many. Be ready because it happens swiftly. It develops. You will see it coming. There is a dip, then a plunge, then all unfolds. That makes the currency increase. It makes goods diminish because all is shifted to protect. No one can move assets. They must hold and be patient, wait to become active. And I'll get back to that part about the others perpetrate travesty. They talk a little bit about that here. I'll explain that just a second here. Here it is. It can't stay for long because the government emits new regulations to control. They try to confine the damage to stocks, to regulate what occurs, to protect the common interests of few who have influence. So this is the part they're talking about, that this is possible. And like I said, none of this is guaranteed. None of this is all things that may occur. And the only reason they're sharing this with us is so that we can make good decisions for ourselves and our families, right? And it's not about being fearful. There's nothing to be fearful here. It is truly just, hey, there's some small things that we can do to be prepared. So they're saying that they're making some changes, regulations to confine the damage of stocks, to regulate what occurs, to protect the common interests of few who have influence. They make changes. So these changes that they're making that potentially could be made in the government may be made to benefit people who have influence and not for the benefit of all. These stir hatred among others who want to evolve, to become more open in their dealings, to perceive the corruption. To emerge from the light, there is shadow, it must be purged. There is work to be done. Then, when this allows unfolding, what's next is the plunge of currency. It becomes devalued. It develops slowly, then comes up to be scrubbed. All tolerate much to be in safety. No more will that stand. It will be opened, revealed. So that is that entire message. I know that there's a lot there, a little bit more even than there was in the first message. And it's heavy, and I really had to think hard about sharing it. But like I said, I think it is just because of the fact that I don't want to be a gloom and doomer, and I like to stay optimistic and positive and see the good things to come. But they were careful in here to mention the good things to come. They talked about the barter, right? They talked about how that will actually be a really good thing. And I've heard that from other sources as well, independent sources, talking about how going forward in the future that barter will play a larger role and how that will bring us together as communities. So I think all of this, we have to remember that all of this is leading us in the direction of good things to come. It's leading us towards our own evolution, and the evolution of the human race, really helping us to become more enlightened. So, and this is part of that unwinding, and it's something that we can just make certain changes to be able to come out on the other side comfortably, and like I said, know that it's leading us towards something better for all of us. I want to invite you guys to join me in my Facebook group as well. It's called Spirit Means Business on Facebook, and I do live channeling in there sometimes. And especially if you are a part of the reason I want to share all of this is that I want to try to support people as they are out there, doing the work. So if you are developing your gifts, if you are sharing your gifts, if you're out there trying to help others, Spirit Meaning Business is about trying to support you in that. So so I hope you join me there as well. And I will have more of these messages to share here with you on YouTube. So please like and subscribe the video. Thanks so much. Bye.